Flick, de film die we net gezien hebben. We hebben vanavond bij ons de regisseur David Howard, producer Rik Hall en de ster Hugh O'Conor. Flick is een heel mooie hommage aan de rockabilly films van de jaren 50s en 60s met een serial killer, een killer soundtrack and a very, very romantic ending. So that kind of surprised us.
Mesdames, Messieurs, bonsoir. On va maintenant commencer le Q&A de Flick en présence de David Howard, Rik Hall et de Hugh O'Conor. So first question I wanted to ask you is that when the movie started, I thought, like, what were your influence to make this movie?
I guess it's a combination of things, really. I mean, I've always loved the movies of Roger Corman and the old American International pictures, things like The Man with X-Ray Eyes and things like that. And in Britain, we never really used to have that sort of drive-in style of movie, but I remember when I first really fell in love with films when I was 11 or 12, they used to show them really late on TV. I was always kind of mesmerized by the style and the color, and there was something we wanted to try and evoke in making the film, but sort of a modern version of it, really.
I also felt a lot of Sin City in there, especially in the first moments. Do you think the success of that movie helped getting this one produced?
People probably don't believe me when I say this, but I've actually never seen Sin City, so but maybe some of the others have as well.
Yeah, no, I think the whole project is basically very original idea. David wrote it, and it's kind of not really like anything we've seen before. I mean, when you read it, I'm sure it was kind of original, as a lot of the cast kind of said. And it, you know, we all came on board the project, you know, seeing the originality and just taking it where it went, really.
Maybe for you, what attracted you to this project, which is kind of unique for British cinema? It's something totally different.
Yeah, it's very unusual, and I love horror films myself, so it was a great chance to do it. And talking to Rik and David, they obviously love the good, bad movies as well. And something like Man with X-Ray Eyes is a classic and a beautiful, moving film and visual as well. So what was most exciting was the visual aspect as much as anything else that I knew these guys were going to bring to it. So that was really exciting.
Yeah. Before starting to talk about music, which I think was very important in this movie, I thought it might be interesting if you talk a little bit about the rockabilly movement, and especially the teddy boy movement, which we're not very probably used to here. So maybe if you can explain us a little bit about it.
Yeah, the teddy boy sort of arose around about the time of rock and roll in America. They had the greasers and the leather jackets, a bit like Marlon Brando in The Wild One. But in Britain, after the war, what happened was a youth subculture sort of emerged, and it came about because the decor and everything at the time was very drab because all of London had been bombed and nobody had any money. And so the teenagers of the day started raiding their grandfather's wardrobes and finding these really old Edwardian coats in these garish colours that nobody'd worn for like tens and tens of years. And that's how the whole teddy boy outfit emerged, and then little additional stylings were taken from America, like the bootlace ties and the coiffed hair. But it's a sort of amalgamation of the American style and also something born out of desperation after the war in Britain, really. But they were very, very violent sort of times as well. So that's where a lot of the bad rep with flick knives and things all emerged from.
What I also liked visually and stylistically about the movie, it reminded me, and maybe this is far off, but it reminded me a little bit of Element of Crime, the Lars von Trier movie, because it has all these yellow tones in there, of course mixed with your original story. But did you ever see that movie, and were you in any way influenced by that?
No, I've never seen that movie, so no, it's interesting when you say that.
Totally coincidental.
No, I'd love to see it though. Actually, I'll look it up when I go back. One of my favourite horror films is a French film called Les Sans Visage, The Eyes Without a Face. And I particularly like that because it's a very moving sort of film, even though and haunting at the same time, but very pulpy. So it's trying to merge all those elements together can be very interesting.
Can you tell maybe the audience a little bit about the music choice in this movie? Because I heard really some really killer tunes in it. So if you can explain us a little bit about the choice of the soundtrack.
I mean, but basically that came about. We didn't have much money for music in the film, and a lot of contemporary rock and roll music that people would know, like stuff by, you know, Chuck Berry and what have you, is just too expensive to use for low-budget films. So we set about trying to find quite obscure stuff that there was no copyright for, that a lot of the artists had just recorded them on vinyl and there was no publishing rights. And there's a great label who's actually based in this part of the world run by a guy called Keys Klopp, who specialises in quite obscure old rockabilly music and restoring it. And he basically put the soundtrack together for us for very little money. So a lot of these songs have never been heard for like 50 years in many cases, certainly never in a film. So that was quite exciting.
Brilliant.
And that immediately goes us to the question to Mr. Hall, to producing this movie, because I guess young people, they don't know the music, they don't know that style that much. Was it easy to getting money for a film noir influenced serial killer love story set in Britain?
I don't think it's ever easy to get money for a movie. But we basically got a lot of people from the script that David wrote. We got a lot of actors. Once we could get them to read it, they all kind of loved it. Hugh came on board, Faye Dunaway came on board. With the music as well, Richard Hawley, who I don't know, he's if you know of him, he's got quite a few albums, solo albums out, and he used to play with Pulp, and he's a very well-respected musician. He is a great rockabilly fan, and he kind of read the script and wanted to do songs. There's about 7 of his songs in the soundtrack as well. So, you know, I guess we were very lucky with the funding that we got from the Welsh government agencies, and then because people just thought, yeah, they'd give it a go because they liked the script, we managed somehow to get the money together.
What was the budget for the movie?
It was just around £1 million, basically.
And maybe a question for you. I heard some people, more than one, mention it as, this looks like Johnny Cash walking on stage. What were your influences? How much was in the script, and how much of yourself were you able to put in? Oh, I'm gonna play this guy.
I don't know. I watched a lot of Tom Courtenay movies for some reason. It was kind of the North influence in his voice, and I love the kind of I think we're watching a lot of Billy Liar and you know, Loneliness, a Long Distance Runner for some reason. I just felt like, and I think actually was Julia was in that, who played Sal as an older girl. So I don't know quite where it came from, but it sort of developed between me and David talking about the character, and the stutter as well sort of adds to it. So it was great because I was in makeup for 3 hours every morning. I got to watch a lot of movies on DVD with Mike, so we would just watch movies and practice the accent and watch different sort of movies for that reason. It was a great experience in that way. And The Elephant Man, something like that, was a real influence. I mean, a lot of the movies that Rik and David talked to me about as well, which I think we're all film buffs, so it was a pleasure, you know, to do it that way.
I have a question. Earlier you talked about the casting, but I have a question that tickles me, but I think you might have heard it 100 times, but can you explain us a little bit about Faye Dunaway?
Well, what do you want to know? She, basically, we managed to get the script to her, and as agents do, they don't push their stars into doing low-budget stuff necessarily, American agents particularly. But basically, we were very lucky. She loved the script, and on the front page of the script was my number, and she just called up one day after about 2 weeks. We'd heard nothing from the agent and assumed, you know, that was it. You know, she would never do it for the whole budget, basically. And no, she just kind of really wanted to do the part. So we were very lucky, as with Hugh and Julia and all the actors really. So she was don't know if you got anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the most interesting thing about her casting was going back to the old B movies and the style of doing is that the way Roger Corman used to use a lot of people who'd been big stars, who'd won Oscars, people like Joan Crawford and Ray Milland and people like that. They did a lot of horror movies in the 50s and 60s when they weren't getting the leading roles that they used to. And it was very important for us to try and get somebody who had been a really, really big star and so could give it a bit of gravity and have a bit of fun with it, which is what she did, really. And she was, you know, fantastic to work with, it has to be said, because she was so professional. She had no entourage or anything, absolutely nothing at all. She just got on with it, did the job and went home. So can't ask for much more than that.
Was she expensive?
Probably what Tom Cruise would spend on flowers a day in his trailer is what she got paid, so we won't say any more than that.
My next question is maybe a question for all three of you, because over the last few days we had some other British directors, actors here. We had the Cottage Crew here, and asked them, lately we've seen a re-emergence of genre movies in Britain. It started, I guess, with Shaun of the Dead, and we got Severance and all those types of movies. And asked him the question, is it easier now to get that sort of movie made? Is it easier than 10 years ago, or is it just pure coincidence that they're all coming out at the same time and all these actors and directors want to do that kind of movie?
I think what happened in Britain, particularly with things like From Dog Soldiers onwards, really, is that because that was very successful and made quite a lot of money, it became almost a safe bet. And the people in Britain started putting money just into those sorts of films, and that's why there's been a bit of a glut of them. I think, to be honest, a lot of people have been quite shocked who put money into our film when they saw it, because they were probably expecting a slasher, but it's something more surreal and unusual. So I think, you know, kind of, it doesn't really fit into that sort of traditional sort of genre niche, really, which is a good and a bad thing.
It's a good thing for us and everyone who kind of worked on the film. Not sure how good it is for the financiers, but I think the reaction tonight seems to be quite positive. So we'll see what happens, really.
Distribution ways, has the movie been sold already to different countries or regions?
Yeah, it's in the process. We've got a sales agent, and it's in the process of being sold, and it's doing pretty well at screenings, and people are starting to pick up on it. So, and things like this are great to be invited here, because, you know, it's the first time you get to experience an audience's reaction to it, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Misschien zijn er al vragen in het publiek, des questions dans le public. Quelqu'un? Non? Oui, il y a quelqu'un là-bas, il y a le micro-baladeur.
Hello. Well, I like rock and roll. I dance rock and roll. I like comics also, but I don't like your film. No, it's a joke. I like it. Well, for me, I find that comics is very close with cinema. You have traveling in comics, you have close-up, you have cutting. What do you think about that, and what you want to do with the mixing of comics and movie?
I mean, something that we were very much influenced in the look of the film is in Britain in the 1950s in particular, there used to be a comic book called Eagle that had a quite famous comic strip called Dan Day. And the colour of those comics was very oversaturated in the way the frames were drawn. And we tried to sort of mirror that in the style of the film and using the Dutch angles and everything. And the colour balance, you know, to give it that sort of feel and aesthetic, really. So, you know, the comic influence is a definite one upon the whole film, really.
Does that answer the question? Maybe another question, casting-wise, something I found very funny, and I guess a lot of people, to see Onslow at a certain point emerge in a scene.
I think, once again, that goes back to these people who were sort of been very famous in Britain in sort of those sorts of roles. And when we did the casting for the film, we had very little money to pay people, and they were being paid scale in most cases. But 90% of the people we sent the script to said yes straight away. So it was great to be able to, when I was writing the script, it was him in mind. So it's not, I'm sure that'll never happen again. But, you know, it was great.
Tonight, during the movie, I heard in the audience a lot of reactions. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think about it? So how do you feel to hear the people reacting to your movie?
I mean, it was fantastic. It's the first time we've seen the movie with the public, basically, or film fans. The only other 2 screenings we have has been with distributors and sales agents, and I definitely would say that's not a pleasant experience. So no, it was fantastic to be there and just see and soak up people enjoying the film, and really, really nice feeling, really.
They were great.
It's the first time Hugh's seen it as well, so...
So it wasn't too terrifying to be with this audience.
I think, you know, it's always, as I said, I've never seen a film, well, that I've done with an audience, so it's a completely new experience, and it is probably the most frightening thing in the world, because at the end of the day, you know, people in the dark in the cinema, you know, they don't have to disguise their emotion because you can't even see them when they want to be vocal about it. So, and it's always really interesting when people laugh or don't laugh, or, you know, you evoke some kind of reaction from them during it. And I can honestly say, I mean, we came here, we're very ignorant. We had no idea that there would be like 1,000 people in there watching it. So it was a terrifying experience. And as I said, I don't drink, but I had something to drink before I went in there tonight.
Misschien nog vragen? Question aan het publiek? No? Then I certainly have another question. Your movie now is like on the crossroads of being a love story, a serial killer. Peggy Sue got married was kind of like in my head when I was watching the whole thing. But there was a lot of film noir in there. Are you guys planning to do later on to do a true film noir without any supernatural elements?
I think the 2 genres that are the only genres that really interest us are thriller and horror. And, you know, I really am a big fan of a lot of film noir, especially the stuff done by Billy Wilder and John Huston, like Maltese Falcon and things like Ace in the Hole. You know, they're fantastic films, and to be able to do something like that in a contemporary style, maybe like the Lawrence Kasdan film Body Heat one day, would be fantastic.
Like the one shot, was it really the lady from Shanghai or was it me?
Yeah, I think when I was at film school we did a bit of Joseph on Sterling, so I'm sure there was something in the back of my mind seated there somewhere.
And for you as a producer, what are the types of projects you are most drawn to? When you read scripts, you can maybe read an excellent drama, but say as a producer, maybe I don't want to do this. I'd rather prefer to do something more fun. Or is it the other way around?
Well, I've actually worked with David, and we've made quite a lot of documentaries about 7 or 8 years, and you know, the ideas that he has in his head are all very obscure, original, and I'm just trying to get a few more of them out and get some money raised, really. Yeah, again, my passion is horror, thriller, so just, you know, we want to do quite a few different variations, and just kind of keep what I hope we've done is make an original film, and you know, you can't really want for more than that, really, as a producer.
And for you as an actor, when you pick a project, because it must always be on your mind, is this commercial? Is this going to win me any awards? Is this going to win me an audience? And in a dark bar are going to come up to me, I really love the way you play that killer. So what pushes you over to do a film?
My parents are very worried about me in general. Every film I do, I die, I kill other people, and then I kill myself. I kill other people and then I kill myself. So maybe a musical, maybe pantomime, a children's movie, somewhere, something like that. So it would be good. Please, anyone.
Vragen public? Question? Quelqu'un? Pas avoir peur? Vous pouvez poser des questions. Néerlandais, français, swahili, coréen. On a quelqu'un là-bas. Le micro-baladeur. Okay. That's even
Merci
easier.
beaucoup. Thank you. My friend and I enjoyed your movie. It was really so funny. Really, félicitations. I have one tricky question for you. I have one tricky question for you concerning the end of the movie. I don't understand why Hugh / Johnny was crashed by a so stupid container instead of kissing the former cute Sal and disappearing after. So is it British humor?
I think so. And I think it also has to do with not having enough money to finish the film properly. I think it's probably the true answer. But I think that's the very worst thing about when you watch the film, particularly for me. I mean, you know, you go through, probably for 50% of it, I close my eyes and you think, oh my God, that's not meant to be like that. But, you know, you can't do anything about it because we had 4 weeks to film it in. And you can only do what you can do in 4 weeks, and nobody else is saying, you know, here we are, here's more money, here's more time. But, you know, you just have to kind of, going back to the whole thing emerged from wanting to make a film in the style of those B movies, and that a lot of those ones from the 50s, they endure, even though they're not complete, because they have real heart and they weren't made in a cynical way. They were made because people loved those sorts of films. And I think that's what we tried to do with this. And hopefully in 30 years' time, somebody surfing across some obscure cable channel might come across it and think, oh, that looks interesting.
Andere vragen? D'autres questions? So then oh, we have someone? Okay.
Yes. I also enjoy the movie, and I want to ask you, have you some project for the future, and will we have the chance to see you back in a few years?
Well, the next project we're working on, I won't say too much about it, but it's just finished being written, and it's in with some very big people, American studios. So hopefully it's going to be a studio film, and I can guarantee that if we get it made, we will make sure that we come back and premiere it here at the Brussels International Festival of Fantasy Film.
And for you, are you planning to work with David on the next project, or you're already in the back behind in the theater talking to other people and saying like, this is more interesting, I'm gonna get bigger stars here?
No. It depends how the rest of these meetings with the studios go. If I pull it off, then I'm pretty sure he'll keep working with me. But yeah, no, we definitely want to keep working together, and because. You know, the bottom line is we have good fun making films, and you know, Hughes was great to have around. I think I don't know if enjoy is the right word, because he was in the makeup chair for 5 hours a day, but you always had a smile on your face anyhow.
The makeup girls were cute and very nice.
Well.
All I can say about the makeup girls is there were some divas on the film, and none of them were called Miss Dunaway, so say no more.
So, but maybe you can, I know it's maybe bad luck to talk about the next project, but a little bit of a hint what kind of movie it will be, not exactly a story, but what will...
Werewolves. Werewolves. And Donald Sutherland, that's all I'll say.
Werewolves and Donald Sutherland. I'm already interested in that. And you, are you going to be involved, and what are your projects? What are you going to do in the next few years?
He has got a part in the film that was written especially for him. So,
especially for you. Okay, so that will be absolutely perfect for this.
I would love to. I hope to kill more people very soon. I've worked on my own film. I directed a short film that I've just finished working on, and these were guys who were a real inspiration to me in terms of keeping on something when there's a lot of effects involved. So yeah, and one or two other things coming out as well, but nothing like this.
So usually the future project question is how we end our Q&A. So maybe if you guys have something you want to tell us or tell the audience here, or
just if you enjoyed this film, I hope you'll come back and watch the next one, basically.
Yeah, I just want to say, I genuinely mean it was a real privilege to come here and show you our film, and you know, I'm glad that some people at least seem to enjoy it. Thank you very much.
So I have my standard question that I've changed a little bit this year. I've made it into a two-parter for this year. So it's the dream project. That's the first part, and it's for all three of you. So you get unlimited budget, unlimited stars. It can be a book, an original script. You can have Tom Cruise, you can have Ray Winston, you can have whoever you want. What would be your dream project?
I'd very much like to remake the Julie Christie movie, The Demon Seed. So.
I think having made Flick on the limited budget that we did, it kind of I'd say your dream project doesn't really involve unlimited money because we could have spent another few million and maybe made it seem easier, but I think you lose the kind of heart. So I'd just like to kind of keep on making projects maybe with a bit more money so we can have a semi-decent hotel and 3 meals a day, that kind of stuff, hot tea on the go all the time. But yeah, just keep going, really.
I would like to play a female wrestler.
That's pretty original. So that brings me to my second part, because most directors and actors are actually pretty vague in the answer, where they go like, oh, okay, I want to do my own project. So I made it into a two-parter, which would be the nightmare project. You wake up one day, there's a truck full of money on your lawn. You gotta do this movie. It'll get your grandchildren's grandchildren in college. You gotta do it, but you hate it. What would it be?
Probably a sequel to the musical Annie.
I'd say a remake of a brilliant classic horror that I loved, such as Omen or yeah,
like Demon Seed. Like Demon Seed. So you're
maybe we'll go separate ways on that one.
I've already done some of those terrible, horrible movies that were so bad that I wanted to chew my own leg off rather than to continue. So just please never let's do those again. And you know what they were if you've seen them.
Just in case anyone's confused, I don't think Hugh's talking about Flick, but...
Okay, anyway, guys, thank you for bringing this movie. It was really original and a really apart style. It's kind of like it had its perfect place to run this today at this festival. So really, thank you a lot for coming. So give them a big round of applause for bringing this beautiful film to us.
And thank you for being so honest in your answers, and that was very a pleasure.
Donc, il y a une séance de dédicace maintenant, handtekeningen, if you want anything signed. So you guys gotta stay on and work a little bit more because people are gonna get their T-shirts, underwear signed. So you gotta stay a little bit longer. So.